The case we're about to dig into is unbelievably tragic and disturbing on so many levels. Just 3 weeks ago, 2 young Midwestern moms set out on a drive in the rural, desolate Oklahoma panhandle to complete a custody exchange that would end in tragedy. But first, I'm Vanessa, and welcome to Unmasked. Please take a moment to help support my channel by hitting the subscribe, the thumbs up, the notification bell, and setting to all so you'll be notified of all of my upcoming videos. Now sit back and get comfy as I tell you all about the horrific Kansas mom killings. The Oklahoma Panhandle is a largely desolate strip of land in western Oklahoma that's 126 miles long by 34 miles wide. It borders Kansas, Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas. It used to be known as no man's land until the early 1800s, and today is still very sparsely populated and mainly comprised of hardworking ranchers. On the morning of March 30th, 2024, 27-year-old Veronica Butler left her house in Hugoton, Kansas, and went to go pick up 39-year-old mother of 4, Jillian Kelly. Jillian was one of the 4 court-appointed people who could supervise Veronica's custody visits with her 2 children, ages 6 and 8. Jillian's husband, Heath, was a local pastor, and they had 4 children of their own. Veronica was excited to see her kids as she only got to see them on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and for the past several months, many of these visits had allegedly been sabotaged by the children's paternal grandmother, 54-year-old Tiffany Adams. Tiffany Adams was well known in her town of Keys, Oklahoma. Not only was she reportedly a millionaire, but she dabbled in various ranching businesses, sat on the board of the county GOP party, and was also on the board of the county hospital. Veronica's ex and the father of her 2 young children, Wrangler Colt Rickman, had legal custody. However, Wrangler was a convicted felon and due to continuous probation violations had been in and out of jail. Because of this, his mother Tiffany had been granted temporary custody in his place. Veronica had been embroiled in a bitter, highly contentious custody battle for the past 5 years. Her lawyer had just filed a motion on March 20th, 2024, requesting a step-up custody agreement, asking to now include Saturday overnights and to eventually have full custody. The motion also had some scathing allegations towards Tiffany Adams. It alleged that when Tiffany had the kids, she would start canceling Veronica's visits with varying excuses, including that either they were sick or Miss Adams was sick. Veronica argued to the court that she was their mother and could care for them regardless of how they felt. There was a list of 4 court-appointed supervisors that had to be present when Veronica Butler had her children. I don't really want to dive into this too deeply prior to the trial, but it is in court documents that there had been allegations that Veronica's 18-year-old brother, listed in court documents as initials CV, had potentially abused one of Veronica's kids, and in the interim, a supervisor was required to be present. Tiffany made it known that she did not care for any of the court-approved supervisors except for one woman named Cheryl. In fact, according to court documents, on December 9th, 2023, Cheryl wasn't available to supervise Veronica's visit, so Tiffany texted Veronica and told her that the kids were sick and Veronica couldn't have them that day. The motion filed on March 20th accused Tiffany Adams of consistently disregarding the court orders, canceling multiple visits from December 2023 through February of 2024. Veronica Butler was fed up and decided to petition for the increased visits with the hopes of being granted full custody in the near future. Tiffany was enraged at this prospect and had allegedly made comments to her son Wrangler that she may even harm the judge, and also made a threat to take Veronica out during a custody exchange. It's also in court documents that Tiffany threatened to kill her own son if he didn't go along with her plans to gain custody of he and Veronica's kids. Veronica had asked the court for protection orders against Tiffany in the past, but they had all been denied. A hearing was set for April 17th, which many people believe triggered Tiffany Adams to formulate an evil plan. For a period of time, the sheriff's office was present for the custody handoffs between Veronica and Tiffany. However, for reasons unknown, the sheriff's office decided it was no longer necessary for them to be there, despite Veronica reporting her nervousness surrounding the threats made by Tiffany. On March 30th, the drive from Hugoton, Kansas to the meetup spot should have taken about 45 minutes, with the scheduled time to exchange custody that day being at 10 a.m. Veronica and Jillian arrived at 9:40 a.m., and their phones were active until 9:42. The meetup point to exchange Veronica's two children was an abandoned gas station located at Four Corners, which is the intersection of US 64 and State Highway 95, just 2 miles north of Eva, Oklahoma. In Veronica's March 20th motion, she had also wanted to switch the exchange location from the desolate gas station at Four Corners to Elkhart, Kansas. It's been reported by people that knew her that because of the previous threats made by Tiffany Adams, that Veronica had wanted to feel safer, meeting at a more populated location. On that particular day, Veronica was supposed to exchange the kids with Tiffany and then attend a party for her daughter's 6th birthday. When Veronica and Jillian failed to show up, a few people from the party went looking for them. They found Veronica's abandoned vehicle about 3 miles north of where they were supposed to meet to exchange the children. Veronica's car had seemingly been abandoned at the intersection of Highway 95 and a stretch of dirt road. Around noon, Veronica's family called the police, and the Texas County Sheriff's Office responded to the scene. They immediately noticed pools of blood outside of the car and on the edge of the roadway. Veronica's glasses were laying on the road near a broken hammer. Jillian's purse was still in the car, and a magazine was found inside. Both of the women's cell phones were missing. Despite police immediately suspecting foul play and the disappearance of the women being very big news, there was no visible signs from outsiders anyway of an active, large-scale search. No grid searches, no search dogs, and no police command center was put in place. Veronica's ex-Wrangler Rickman's alibi was checked out, and it was confirmed that he was in a mandated rehab facility at the time of their disappearances. It seemed evident that investigators were immediately suspicious of Tiffany Adams and felt that it was a targeted attack. To further support this theory, investigators obtained a warrant for Tiffany's cell phone on April 1st. 2 days later, on April 3rd, the OSBI, or Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, started conducting interviews, and one particular interview they had with a 16-year-old girl busted the entire case wide open. Meanwhile, locals were very guarded about talking to reporters, seemingly afraid to be on camera discussing anything about the disappearances of Veronica and Jillian. When investigators questioned Tiffany Adams about her whereabouts on the morning of March 30th, she told them that she was at home at the time when they disappeared. She explained that she had spoken to Veronica that morning and that Veronica had told her that she would be unable to make it to the custody exchange. When investigators reviewed the phone records, they saw that there was indeed a call between Tiffany and Veronica that morning. However, during that time of the call, Veronica's GPS coordinates had her picking up Jillian Kelly to bring her down to Oklahoma. Adams also told police that her preferred court-approved supervisor, Cheryl, was unavailable to supervise the visit on the day that the women disappeared. However, when interviewed, Cheryl countered that she actually was available to supervise on March 30th, but that Tiffany had called her and told her to take a couple of weeks off. On April 13th, whispers began circulating about heavy police activity about 8.5 miles from where Veronica Butler's vehicle was found in Texas County. Shortly after, a huge tactical convoy was seen racing towards an unknown location. Unbeknownst to the public, the day before, on April 12th, investigators had filed formal charges under seal on Tiffany Adams, her boyfriend Tad Cullum, and their good friends Cole and Cora Twombly. The heavily armed convoy had been headed to Tad Cullum's compound to make the arrests. Unsure of what the situation would be when they got there, and with the children's safety at risk, law enforcement wasn't taking any chances. The 16-year-old that investigators interviewed back on April 3rd turned out to be none other than Cora Twombly's daughter. Since she's a minor, she's referred to as CW in the court documents, and that's how I'm going to refer to her in this video as well. Cora's daughter CW revealed to investigators that she had been told that Tiffany Adams, Tiffany's boyfriend Tad Cullum, and her mother and stepfather, Cora and Cole Twombly, had murdered Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelly. She also told OSBI that Tiffany Adams and the other suspects had burner phones to communicate with each other, and that she had seen the phones charging on her mother's nightstand. She also revealed to investigators that the 4 suspects were part of a very secretive, staunchly anti-government religious group they called God's Misfits. Not much is known about the group, or as many are calling it, the cult, at this time, besides the fact that it's reportedly a group of 200 to 300 members locally who meet every Sunday night. CW recounted for investigators that she was told by her mother, Cora and Cole Twombly, that they would be gone when she woke up on the morning of March 30th because they were, quote, going on a mission. She told investigators that Cora and Cole returned home around noon that day in 2 pickup trucks, and that she was told that they wouldn't have to worry about Veronica Butler anymore. She said that Cora and Cole blocked Veronica's vehicle in the roadway and directed them to go to where Tiffany and Tad were waiting for them. When she asked her mom why they had killed Jillian too, Cora replied that she wasn't that innocent because she had been supporting Veronica. CW asked her mom if the bodies were put in a well, and Cora responded, quote, something like that. She also told investigators that there was an earlier attempt on Veronica's life in Hugoton, Kansas back in February, but that Veronica would not leave her house. She said that the group had actually planned to throw an anvil into Veronica Butler's windshield because that happens all the time. Just ask Wile E. Coyote. In addition to the information given to them by Cora's daughter CW, investigators tracked the pings from the suspects' burner phones to try and piece together their theory of what happened on March 30th. Investigators saw that right around 9:40 a.m., when Veronica and Jillian's cell phones stopped communicating with any towers, the 4 suspects' burner phones were active and pinging right near the area where Veronica's vehicle was found. From 10:05 a.m. to 10:16 a.m., 2 of the suspects' burner phones were active at Tad Cullum's compound, and from 10:16 to 10:35, 2 of the burner phones were active at a second property that Tad Cullum was renting for cattle grazing. A deep dive into their Google searches shows that Tiffany Adams had Googled taser pain level, shots, prepaid cell phones, and how to get someone out of their house. In addition to the searches, it was discovered that Tiffany had purchased 3 burner phones on February 13th and had purchased 5 stun guns from a store in Guyman, Oklahoma on March 23rd. Tiffany, Tad, Cole, and Cora were each charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder. After her arrest, Tiffany Adams admitted to being responsible for the murders of Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelly. On April 14th, 2 weeks after Veronica and Jillian's disappearance, investigators went back to the property that Tad was renting where the burner phones had last transmitted. They discovered fresh dirt under some hay and then made the gruesome discovery of Veronica and Jillian's bodies buried 10 feet underground. On April 17th, the 4 defendants made their first court appearances in Guyman, Oklahoma. The victims' families were in attendance, and during this extremely chaotic and emotionally charged hearing, the families were yelling obscenities at the suspects, with one family member having to be physically restrained from trying to lunge at the defendants. Watching the footage of the victims' families was heartbreaking.
How can you hate the mother of your grandchildren so much that you want to end her life?
Do you feel like the justice system failed Veronica?
They 100%.
Has it always been like this with Tiffany?
In the last 5 years, 100%, they have failed.
What would you say to the justice system?
They don't want to know. I'm going to have to get off here, sorry.
In an ironic and tragic twist, the 4 defendants appeared in court on the same exact date that was slated to be Veronica Butler's custody hearing to try and win her kids back. Interestingly, while Cole Twombly told the court he has a private attorney, his wife Cora advised that she did not have the money to hire a private attorney and will be using a public defender. This has caused many to speculate that there could be discord between the married couple, or wondering if Cora might be rolling on the rest of them. It's also made people wonder if Cole is angry and punishing Cora, since it was her daughter who turned them in to investigators. I do sincerely hope that with how brave she was coming forward, that CW is well protected. As the investigation continues and we move closer to the actual trial, many questions remain, including one of the biggest ones, which is, will there be any additional arrests? Other people were listed in the probable cause affidavit as possibly being involved. It's been reported that those people have been brought in for questioning regarding the murders, but were subsequently released. It will also be very interesting to see what else comes out surrounding the mysterious cult God's Misfits and if additional members had any involvement in the murders. It's also important to note that Oklahoma does carry the death penalty. So what do you guys think of this case? I'd love to hear all of your thoughts in the comments below. I do want to take a moment to send all of my thoughts and prayers and love to the family and friends of the victims involved in this case. I will be following this all the way through the trial. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe and see you next video.